The moment everything changed. Hello, my friend. I'm truly glad you're here. If this is your first time visiting, I hope you'll consider subscribing and sharing this video. It helps more than you know. Feel free to drop a comment with your city and country. I read every one and truly value your thoughts. Let's begin. Ethan came home like he always did. Tie loosened, steps heavy, head pounding from a long day's work. He was tired in that deep, soul-heavy way that made silence feel like the only medicine. But as he stepped inside, he instantly sensed something off. Isla was seated on the edge of the couch, her fingers clutching her phone, but her eyes weren't really on it. She looked like someone rehearsing a line she didn't want to say. No kiss, no "hey, how was your day?" Just a few words that dropped like stones. "We need to talk." Those words are rarely a good sign, especially from someone close. They signal an undercurrent, a coming shift. Isla took a breath, set the phone down, and looked him straight in the eyes. Her next words shattered the routine silence of their home. Caleb reached out. Ethan froze. The name hung there like smoke. Caleb. Her ex-husband. A name they almost never said aloud. That man had been a ghost in their home, a shadow in Isla's eyes whenever the past was mentioned. Isla had told Ethan stories of her old life with Caleb. Volatile, intense, marked by wild highs and brutal lows. It was the kind of relationship that burned too hot to last. She had told Ethan she left that life behind for peace. For him. But now, 5 years later, Caleb had resurfaced. She said Caleb had messaged her, saying he missed what they once had. He wanted to see her. Isla laid it all out, hoping that being honest would soften the blow. Didn't. Ethan stood still, not speaking, while his mind spiraled. She insisted she wasn't tempted, that it meant nothing, that she only responded out of courtesy. But Ethan wasn't listening to her words. He was feeling what they awakened in him. For years, he had wondered whether some part of her heart still lived in the past, a sealed room he was never allowed to enter. And now, that suspicion had a name and a voice. Caleb. He asked why she replied at all. Isla said it felt cowardly to ignore someone who had once mattered. Then Ethan asked if hearing Caleb's voice had stirred anything. She hesitated. That pause was his answer. She said it was like opening an old drawer and finding things you didn't realize you'd kept. Memories, feelings. Ethan said nothing more. He showered, hoping the water would drown out the thoughts pounding in his head. But when he came out, the distance between them was no longer emotional. It was almost physical. Isla sat in the same place, staring into nothing. She tried to reassure him, said she had nothing to hide. But her honesty had set something irreversible in motion. That night, for the first time in years, Ethan slept on the couch. The days that followed confirmed what Ethan feared. Isla's warmth faded. Her presence became distant. She stopped waking with him in the mornings. Her kisses vanished into vague smiles or nods. She said work was to blame. Stress, meetings, projects. But Ethan recognized the script. It was the same one he used to avoid hard conversations. She came home later. Offered hollow explanations. Running late, sorry. Last-minute prep for tomorrow's presentation. Didn't have time to text. Ethan didn't press. But each excuse pricked like a thorn. He could feel her slipping away. He tried to pull her back. Suggested dinner. Walk. A weekend off. She declined everything with the kind of polite detachment that stings worse than anger. One night, she left a note on the counter. Appointment. Then heading to Danny's place. Be back late. He didn't call. He didn't text. He just waited. All night. The next morning, her smile was thin, her eyes heavy. Ethan asked her if they were okay. Isla sighed. Said she felt stuck, like something vital inside her had dimmed. She accused him of settling too easily, of losing his spark. Then came the cut. At least Caleb made me feel alive. Ethan didn't flinch. He didn't yell. He just stared. Isla saw she had gone too far. She tried to take it back, but the damage was done. Ethan grabbed his keys and walked out into the cold night. He parked near an empty field and sat in silence, breathing in the stillness, trying to contain the storm building inside him. The next morning when Ethan came home, Isla was packing a small suitcase. She said she needed space. Time to think. She swore she would come back. Ethan didn't beg. He just watched as she walked out the door. And something inside him quietly collapsed. That day, he got a message from someone he hadn't spoken to in a while. His friend, Declan, saw Isla last night at the Fox Lounge. She was with Caleb. They looked close. Ethan stared at the message for a long time. Then he called a private investigator. He wanted everything. Photos. Proof. Her whereabouts. He gave the agency all the details they needed. And then, as if shedding old skin, he called a locksmith. The locks were changed that same day. Then he called a divorce attorney and began the process. No anger in his voice. Only clarity. 2 weeks passed. Isla spent them in a luxury condo Caleb had rented for a work trip. They laughed. They slept in. They drank wine on the balcony. She told herself this was freedom, that it was fate. But when the trip ended and she told Caleb she wanted to go with him, wanted a real future, he sighed. I haven't even told my wife. I just needed space. I don't think this is something I can continue. Isla felt the world slip beneath her feet. He promised to call her. But they both knew he wouldn't. She packed in silence, left without a kiss goodbye. When she returned to Ethan's house, night had fallen. Lights glowed from the living room. She tried her key. Didn't work. She knocked. Called him. I'm outside. I want to come in. He opened the door but didn't step aside. In his hand was an envelope. Inside photographs. Caleb, laughing, kissing. You had me followed? She asked, voice shaking. Yes, Ethan said. Cold. She tried to explain. Tried to step forward. He blocked the door. Your things are in the garage. Take them and go. Talk to your lawyer. She cried, yelled, pleaded. Ethan didn't move. She left with what she could carry. 2 boxes didn't fit. She left them behind like forgotten pieces of herself. She drove straight to her mother's house, where silence greeted her. The days dragged. Caleb stopped answering her. Her messages went unread. Her calls went to voicemail. Eventually, she called him from a new number. He answered, and told her gently but without emotion that he was staying in his marriage. It was nostalgia, Isla, not love. He screamed, cried, called him a coward. Then the line went dead. Weeks later, she went back to Ethan's house to apologize. Beg. He answered. But he looked different. Stronger. Free. She told him she was sorry. That she still loved him. That she had made a mistake. He didn't shout. He didn't cry. He just said, don't contact me again. The only meeting left is with the lawyer. And then he closed the door. The divorce was finalized in silence. Ethan never said another word. He moved on. Quietly. Completely. But Isla couldn't. The bitterness burned deeper now. Not just at Caleb but at herself. At everything she gave up for nothing. One night, unable to sleep, she stared at the old envelope of photographs Ethan had once handed her. And she did something reckless. She found Caleb's wife online. And she sent the photos. Not for closure. Not for peace. But for revenge. Thank you for listening. If this story moved you in any way, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to share this with someone who might need to hear it. Until next time, stay strong.